Hey, welcome everybody to the final session for the Extravaganza. We're so glad you can join us here this afternoon. We've got a jam-packed session here this afternoon that I think you want to stay and pay attention to everything that we're going to be doing. We're going to have a lot of fun with some special things that are going to be taking place. The award show with the virtual Extravaganza with all the fish that people entered. Jeff Natter is going to be putting that on and showing us who won, and hopefully you come home with a trophy. Also, we're going to be doing the rare fish raffle. That's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of people put stuff on there for each fish, and we'll be spinning the wheel and finding out who gets to take home these really rare fish and have them actually sent to you, not take home. And that'll be amazing as well. We're going to go over a little bit of who our sponsors were here today. We're going to talk about the Jim Smith Fund and all that's with the winners. And we're going to have the donor award, in which we have another big raffle where you can win $100. There's just so much taking place here this afternoon. And not to forget the most important part, we have an amazing speaker on catfish, Haakon Haagensen from Norway. And we're looking forward to hearing what he has to say, the pictures he's taken from traveling, and all the catfish that he has kept. And probably all of us will be envious and wanting to keep some of them by the time we're done and going, okay, we'll give up cichlids, we'll keep catfish. So we're looking forward to it. That's kind of just an overall picture. You're not going to want to miss anything. It's going to be a lot of fun. And Don and JJ are here with us, and they're going to highlight a little bit about just everybody who sponsored this that could make it happen. So I'm going to let you guys take it away and tell us about these sponsors.
Okay, thanks, Byron. I do want to say the hospitality suite is officially open again.
Cheers.
Cheers. Salute. So at any rate, first and foremost, I wanted to reach out and say thanks to all the board members that made this wonderful event happen. Just countless hours spent getting everything in line and ready to go. We did have quite a great turnout by the premier vendors, as we've called them, the ones that came online, offered promo codes, discounts, specials, and they are Zugari Pets, our overall show sponsor, the Wet Spot out in Portland, Oregon. You've got Amazonas, Swiss Tropicals, a couple of businesses that Stefan Tanner's involved in, Mike Cichlids, Mike Drawdy and Imperial Tropicals, Dave's Rare Aquarium Fish, Cobalt Aquatics, and Tangled Up in Cichlids. Hopefully you throw them some love and order and take part in all the wonderful specials that they're offering for us. So thank you kindly to all those guys and everybody that came together to make things happen. JJ?
Yeah, and to follow that up, I want to thank everybody for attending and the tremendous amount of support that we received and the very generous exclusive offers and promos that we received by our featured vendors. So to run down that list again, we have Ogden Aquatics, 10% in-store discount. We have Aqua Research Center out of Tampa is one of our featured vendors. We have Beantown Aquatics. There is a 10% discount. Keep your eyes at the bottom of the screen, guys. You will see the discounts running with the banners. We also have Blue Seas Tropicals, a good friend of Lou's. Calvin Cichlids from Burbank, California. Josh Cunningham with multiple discounts, 10% off livestock, buy two, get one free, 2mm and 3mm pellets, and those use the coupon codes that are listed down at the bottom. We have Florida Aquatics and More, 10% off all livestock. Gold Coast Aquatics, another discount code as well, available for you guys. KJE Aquatics, 15% off everything and 18% off all Northfin. We have Dave Hale, Something Fishy, The Fish Place, Vegas Valley Cichlids, which is also offering two discounts, 10% off everything and 15% off everything over 100. And not to mention Cichlid Press, 40% off all of your purchases. We have all Oddball Aquatics as well as Fatfish Aquatics as well.
All right. Well, that takes care of those. We have up next, Lou. You're going to let us know about who our guest speaker is here today.
I am. Before we get to today's speaker, we'd like to express our thanks to Jeff Cardwell and Odd Konings for their patience and willingness to do something out of their comfort zone and make this event really special. It's really different than giving an in-person talk. So this is something different, and really good sports about that. So that was good. Both of the sponsors for our final speaker may be familiar to you from the vendor room of recent extravaganzas. One is Nationwide Aquatics of Oak Forest, Illinois, owned by Jorge Garcia. The other is Fatfish Aquatic, owned by active OCA member and supporter Larry Seekar of Akron. Today's speaker is from Bergen, Norway. He's been in the retail pet business his entire career and currently is the store manager at one of Norway's largest pet stores. He's big into cichlids. In fact, he originally agreed to do a talk about South American dwarf cichlids at this year's extravaganza, but has made his reputation as a catfish specialist. He's a regular contributor to European aquarium magazines and Planet Catfish. Plus, he has spoken at several of Europe's most important catfish events. We now introduce to the American hobby, Haakon Haagensen.
Hi, guys.
Good to have you with us, Haakon.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure. Wish I could be there in person, obviously, but what can you do? This is the second best thing, I think.
Yeah, it's a good thing we didn't buy that airline ticket, huh? We were talking. Remember that we were talking in probably March about how cheap the airline prices went way down. Oh, it'll be over by November. Let's only get you over here for $400.
Yeah, exactly. We had a really good plan, I think so, but it just didn't work out, did it?
No. Good thing we didn't do it.
Yeah, good thing.
Okay, very good. So, Haakon, what do you got for us?
Well, let's see. What do I have? I do have. I'm going to do a talk today about placos, catfish, L numbers. You all probably know them. There's a lot of them around, but the thing is, there's always something new coming in. These L numbers have now reached 512, 13, something like that. And new ones are still being discovered. Many of them are very cool and very hard to find, and high price and all that. So, for collectors like me, and a lot of other people, some of them are you will search your entire life to find them, basically. So I'm going to present a few of the newer ones that have arrived in the hobby, some rare types. Just it's a feel-good talk just to show people what's around.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I like feeling good. Yeah. It's a good time of day to feel good over there, isn't it? It's noon, isn't it? You have coffee, yes, and everybody's feeling good. Yeah. Here it's dinner time, so as you can see behind me, it's dark.
I feel good.
Yeah. Yeah, you're up and running, Dawn. I can see that. Yeah. So whenever you guys are ready, we'll just get going, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, we're ready. So whenever you want to share your screen and have the presentation, I'll put it up there.
Let's get to it. All right. Something should be happening now, I think.
There we go.
Yep. How's it looking?
Looks good, and I'm going to make it full screen.
Yep, that's good.
So we'll all be in the background, and but we'll be able to talk to you if you ever need anything. And got another guy here with us, Jeremy, who's a specialist in plecos, and so he may ask some questions too. And whenever people ask questions in the Facebook comments, we'll probably maybe chime in a little bit or wait till the end as things go. So take it away, and we look forward to seeing all the fascinating different fish you've collected.
All right. Thank you so much. And also, first off, let me just start by saying I hope you're all doing fine over there. We read in the news here that you have 12 million or so cases of COVID going on now. And it must be hard for you guys, but hopefully something something will happen soon regarding the vaccine and all that stuff, and so that we can see each other in person instead of doing the, like I said, the second best thing, which is this, I guess. This is the first time I'm doing an online lecture, so it's a brand new thing for me as well. Pretty exciting to be in my own living room doing this, but I think it's going to be all right. As you can see by the title of my talk, this is a talk focusing on new Loracariidae imports. This is a talk that was actually made a few years ago for a seminar we had in Germany, the L number days. But I think that most of this talk is actually still pretty relevant even today. New plecos and new Loracariidae species are coming in, maybe not at the same rate as they did during the heydays of the 90s and the 2000s, but still we see new stuff coming in. And to me, Brazil and Colombia are probably the most exciting countries to discover new stuff. Obviously, Brazil had some restrictions, making it pretty difficult to get new stuff. But in May of this year, they actually eased up on those restrictions. So now with the new rules, we can probably expect an influx of new discoveries coming into the hobby during the next couple of years. Typically, the COVID thing happened pretty much at the same time, so it was not very easy to export fish from Brazil because of the very high prices. But eventually, I think we're going to see a lot of new stuff coming in. So I'll just get going here, starting with Brazil. Hypensistrus, which is probably a genus that most fish keepers are familiar with. Obviously, the Hypensistrus zebra, the L46, is like the poster boy of all plecos, I think. But the genus in general, Hypensistrus, is a very popular genus because it has a lot of colorful and pretty fish, a lot of nice species with a nice pattern, and it's actually a very numerous genus. There's a lot of different species. Many of them are very hard to separate and tell apart, especially genetically, it turns out. And this is one of the newer ones. It's called L475, which is one of the numbers that I was part of assigning in the German DATS magazine, together with my German friend Daniel Confet.
Real quick, can you hear me, Haakon?
Yep.
We're having some audio issues, and your screen is frozen on the front picture. It's not transitioned for us.
All right.
I don't know if it's just because of distance.
Okay.
Okay, now it just changed. What are you on right now?
Okay, if you can see my screen right now, do you see the full screen, or do you see the screen?
We see the full screen. We see the side. We see the side panels, like the editing thing. So
I'm going to stop sharing and do it. All right.
Your audio is good now.
Okay, good. I'm gonna try sharing my screen again. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay. So what do you see now? You see the first one?
Yep.
We see the first slide. Yep.
And it
All
sounds
right.
good.
And how is the audio? The audio is good?
Yes, the audio is good.
All right. I'm going to try just moving to the next.
Yep, it moved.
Yep. It's a little slow, but it's moving.
All right. So you have the L475 slide now, right?
Correct.
All right, good. So I was just mentioning how this is one of the new types of Hypensistrus found in Brazil in recent years. It was actually first found by Rupert Collins, a guy from the UK, ichthyologist, who was doing a lot of research in various rivers in Brazil, and he posted a few pictures. I think it was on Planet Catfish, where he had some pictures of a Hypensistrus, which was this one. And this is one of the L numbers that I was part of presenting in the DATS magazine in Germany. together with my German friend Daniel Konfetterlein. You may know him. I think he was over there. And this is a very pretty hypensistrus, a very large hypensistrus. It's about 15 centimeters or so. You have to excuse me for using centimeters instead of whatever you use. But it's a fairly large hypensistrus species, and like many of the hypensistrus species, it has a very variable pattern. It becomes more and more gray and dull as it grows, but when it's in juvenile stage, it can have a very, very pretty contrast-rich pattern, as you can see from the upper right picture, which is from a Japanese importer, actually. It's of course very typical that rare fish like this, they go to Japan first for very high money, and eventually they will end up even in the US and in Europe. We had probably a handful coming into Europe, but in recent times, meaning the last year or so, we have not really seen a lot of them. So it's a very rare fish, basically just waiting to gain foothold in the hobby. It's going to be a very nice addition once it's settled, I think. So this is from Rio Namunda, a place where they normally collect discus. But that's the thing with people in Brazil collecting discus. They normally collect only discus, and whatever else they get in the net, they throw it back, but because they don't expect anyone to be interested. But once in a while, people pay attention. They see that, oh, you have something very interesting in there. Let's have a look and see if we can sell that as well. And voila, there you have it, a new fish in the hobby. Moving on to another one. If you can see, I don't know, guys, are the slides moving?
Yes, they are.
Great, good. And the audio is still functioning?
Yes.
Great, thank you. So this is the next one. Here we have L500, looking very similar to the previous one. And it may, in fact, be the same species. We don't know, because the Brazilian ichthyologists still haven't gotten to it. They are aware of the presence of these types of fish, but they have not been able to sit down and go through all the genetics and try to tell them apart. Hypensistrus as a genus is notoriously difficult to separate concerning DNA and genetics. It's very, very difficult to tell them apart, which is of course a very frustrating task for any ichthyologist, which is again why a lot of people in Brazil working with fish don't really want to touch these, because it's going to be probably a lot of controversy as they present their findings. But anyway, we can use these numbers to label them, so we know what we are dealing with. And this one is, as you can see, another pretty striped one from the Rio Uatumã in Brazil. Our Jubilee L number, L500, a fish that we actually have a lot of in Norway currently, because they are very easy to breed. So they are not hard to spread around and to maintain in the hobby. Me working in the trade, importing fish from Aquarium Glacier in Germany, among others, I can now actually buy these as German-bred juveniles from Aquarium Glacier, which is cool. And I guess that also means you could get them in the US. You probably have them somewhere, but now they are commercially available, which is cool. It's a very nice hypensistrus. Still staying in the same group of hypensistrus, we have this one, which is the L499, a bit of a mystery fish, really, because I think there was a French guy, Mapictus Iqua or something like that, on Facebook. He presented pictures of this fish, and his pictures showed a very beautiful fish, not like this. So we had to ask him, what's the story behind the fish in your picture? We have never seen it before. And he said, well, it's from Rio Padawari, which is way up in the Rio Negro system in Brazil. And the Padawari is actually one of the rivers lying next to Rio Demini, which is a very well-known river full of aquarium fish that we all know very well. But for some reason, the Padawari has not been fished to the same extent. So according to my French friend, he found them there, living on logs. They actually collected them by dragging whole logs onto the shore and picked them off. And to me, it all sounds a little bit weird, but Haakon sisters living on wood. Well, all right, we'll settle for that. Whatever it is, it's something new, because when you put them in a photo tank, like I did with these two, they immediately turn on their camouflage colors, which is very special. Obviously, a lot of plecos and catfish can do that, but with these guys, it's actually pretty impossible to get a good picture, because they will not show their true colors again until you put them back in the main tank and just wait for them to settle down. And to me, that's a trait that makes this a unique fish. We actually had this one as well here in Norway, breeding, but I think they are gone from Norway now. But I heard some guy in Belgium actually has the original breeding group. So hopefully they are still around. We can only hope. But eventually, with fish like this, that you almost never see them coming in again. Eventually they end up getting lost for years and years in the hobby.
It's a really nice fish.
Yeah, it is. And then you have this one, which is also a Brazilian hypensistrus, just underlining the fact that there are a lot of cool hypensistrus living in Brazil, waiting to enter the hobby in big numbers. This one has been known for a very long time, as you can tell by the number, but it has not been imported until very, very recently. It entered Germany. There was a group of guys, I think it was Andreas Tanke, Ingo Seidel, and those guys who went to Brazil, and they actually went to where this is found in the Rio Aripuanã, and they collected it, and they brought it home to Germany. And from what I understand, they still have it, and they are kind of hoping that they will be able to spread it around in the hobby. Yeah, sorry?
Yeah, we've got some feedback, and I can see it on the screen there. Your locality information is cut off on the very bottom. I don't know if you have any control or if Byron does, but if there is anything, great. If not, but you probably want to still go more full screen. So,
all right, let's try. Just try the same as we just did previously and see what happens. Okay.
Okay, sounds good. If not, go right ahead.
I'm just gonna stop my shared screen and go again and see what happens. Okay.
Okay.
I imagine it has to do with the size of the screen and everything.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you might just have to tell us where these are found, give the locality information, which is fine.
Yeah, go right ahead. Sorry about that.
How's it looking now? Is it looking good so far?
It's still
about
cut
the
off,
same,
but
let's forge ahead.
Yep.
Okay, let's see what happens. So this is, like I said, the L297 from the Rio Aripuanã in Brazil. Very nice golden spotted type of hypensistrus. Currently residing in Germany with Ingo and Andy. This one I think is going to be very popular once it's established, because it's definitely a very beautiful fish with the golden spots. But so far, I think those guys are the only ones who actually have them in captivity. So we are still waiting for it to establish itself. But fingers crossed, it's a very beautiful fish. So just move on now to a different genus. This is the Ancistrus L481, which is a very beautiful fish, I think. I don't think one is in the hobby anymore. I'm not entirely sure. It was found in the Rio Abacaxis, and it was imported to Germany through Jens Gottwald. You may know him. He's also a very well-known cichlid guy in Germany. He imported these, I think it was 3 pairs or something like that. One of the pairs ended up in Norway. Unfortunately, they were lost. I think there is 1 pair still in Germany. No pressure on Fabian, who has them. And as you can see, it's a very pretty fish. It's a very beautiful fish. The contrast between the dark spots and the light background, it does not really show in these pictures. But in real life, this is certainly one of the nicest types of ancistrus that we have seen for many, many years in the trade. So again, we can only hope that this one will be easier to import once Brazil opens up a little bit more. We can hope maybe next year that we will see more of it. But so far, a very, very rare fish in the hobby. Moving on to something very different. As you can see, this is the kind of fish that I really like. Beautiful slate gray, no pattern. Nobody would buy this, I guess, but it has a bit of a prehistoric feel to it. It looks almost like a stone, and I think it's a very, very cool looking fish. I can see by the text here, I must have forgotten to include the L number on this one, but it's called Spectracanthicus immaculatus, referring to a fish that has no spots. It's basically unicolored, from the Rio Tapajos in Brazil. So it's a fish that is very well known in the area where it comes from, but because of the modest looks, fishermen will normally just throw them back. Nobody wants to buy this fish. That's what they think, because it has no color and has no pattern. So it's a very dull fish. But for very dedicated enthusiasts who are looking for something very rare and something very special, this is a very cool find. So they call them zombie plecos in Brazil, which is the same name they are using for the L70, which is also a hypancistrus. I can't remember if we are getting to that one later, but anyway, it looks exactly the same color. They can be very hard to tell apart. You basically have to turn them upside down and look at the teeth to see if it's a Spectracanthicus or if it's a hypancistrus. So we got a hold of a group of these in Norway a couple of years ago, and they are still doing very well, breeding. But like I said, it's it's not the easiest fish to find a market for. It will not eat your algae, and it will not show off any colors. So, but it's a pretty cool fish, and it's a very rare addition to the hobby. That's for sure. Staying in Brazil, this is my favorite cactus pleco. This one is a bit of an oddity because it has a strange, very flat body shape, as you can see. It's found in the Rio Tocantins, where it's collected together with a very well-known Pseudacanthicus spinosus, the L160. And this one comes in mixed with them. So with some luck, you can actually find these as a bycatch in bigger shipments of the L160. The nice thing about this one, L79, is that it's not a very big fish. It grows to about 25. That should be 10 inches or so, and it's not as angry or quarrelsome as some of the other cactus plecos. So you can actually keep this together with a lot of other species without too much trouble. Obviously, the problem is to find more than one if you are hoping to find them as bycatch, because until now this one was not allowed to export from Brazil. The L79 was restricted, so they have been very, very difficult to find in the hobby, even though they have been known for 30 years or so, which is a bit strange. Bigger numbers have found their way to Japan, Hong Kong, Singapore. It's a pretty popular fish over there, actually. And from what I hear, they are actually breeding them as well in Singapore. So maybe offspring will be on the market eventually. I really like these ones. They are very cool, and the pattern can be a lot more intense than what you see in these pictures. If it's settled down and feeling good in the tank, this one is actually a very, very beautiful fish as well. And this is another one that has been known for a very long time in the, well, at least 10, 15 years or so. The L255, which is the spotted Medusa pleco from the Ryoshingu. Most people dealing with plecos will know about the common Medusa pleco, the L34, Ancistrus ranunculus. But the thing is, this one is it has the same unique body shape, very flat. But as you can see here, it is covered in beautiful white spots on a very dark background. So it's a very appealing fish. And the thing is, it's found much higher up in the river system, close to the city of São Félix, which is also where you find some very colorful color morphs of the L25, a cactus pleco with very blood red fins, which is a very high-priced fish on the market. So the fishermen in the area, they will normally just focus on collecting those L25s, as well as the stingray, the Potamotrigon leopoldi, black with white dots, because those fish, they will generate a lot of income for the fishermen. Whereas this fish right here, the L255, does not have the same market value, so they can't really be bothered collecting them. And that's the explanation we get from exporters in Brazil when we ask for this fish. That's what they tell us. It's hard to make fishermen collect them.
Quick question, Haakon.
Yep.
Are you going to tell us about how to tell the sexes on this wonderful animal?
Yeah, the one we are looking at right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, yes. If you take a close look at the lower two pictures, then you will see, because those are the pictures from my friend Jacqueline in Holland. And the fish to the right is a male. As you can see, he has more of those tentacles on the nose. He has like a double or even triple row. Whereas the one on the left is actually a female. You wouldn't guess, but it is. It has much thinner tentacles, and they are normally in just a single row. You can actually also tell by the picture on the upper left. There you can see, I think actually, if you look at the fish, the three fish on the lower row of the picture are all females. And if you look at the upper row, which has 1, 2, 3, 4 big fish, of those, there is only one female, which is number 3 from the left. The other 3 are males. And you can tell by looking at how many bristles they have, and how thick they are, and how numerous they are. So that is basically the simplest way to tell these genders apart on this particular one. Most people think that all Ancistrus females, they have no tentacles at all, but that is not the case with this one. So that's why some people think that, oh, we only get males. We only get males when we import them. We never see any females. Well, that is not the case. You just have to pay very close attention. And well, then you can see. So that's how you tell them apart.
Thank you.
All right. So and the thing is, this fish has now become available again in small numbers. Some guy must be collecting them down there. And that has made at least a few people in Europe very, very happy, because they have been asking for this fish for a very long time. The problem with this Ancistrus and also with the L34 is that they are very hard to breed in captivity. So we basically rely on wild collected specimens. So it's very difficult to establish this species in the hobby with captive bred fish. We simply have to rely on the exporters in Brazil, which again leads us to the topic of the Xingu being dammed, and the Belo Monte Dam, and the effect it has on all the species of fish living in the river. We still do not know what the outcome will be eventually, and this one obviously is found pretty far upriver, so it may not be as affected by the dam as the L34 will definitely be. So, but you know, this is it's a looming dark cloud over the Xingu species of not only plecos but also cichlids, and not least the humans living there. Moving on from Brazil now to Peru, which is another very exciting place. Maybe not as well known for plecos, but it still has quite a few interesting species. They have a lot of what we call stick fish, which is basically the Loracariidae type of fish. You may know fish like Hemiloricariia, Rhiniloricariia, stuff like that. That's what we're talking about here. They do not normally have the same type of beautiful colors as the typical L number plecos does, but this one, as you can see, has something to show off. This is a very, very special fish. It has been imported maybe a handful of times during the last couple of years, because some very enthusiastic guys from Austria decided to go down there and go on an expedition with one of the exporters, Luis Enrique, at Greenfish Aquarium in Iquitos. They went to the place where this fish has been described from, and they actually found it, and it was also exported. So this is the funky Loracariia nanodon, a very interesting name, from the Rio Hualaga in Peru. We did receive a few of them in Norway. Unfortunately, they turned out to be very hard to keep. Very demanding fish, constantly hanging on the walls of the aquarium, gasping for air, no matter how much oxygen we provided. Did not pay much attention to food, and eventually we lost them. And from what I heard, they had a lot of the same experience even in Austria. I know they also entered into the hobby in the US. Maybe it was Mr. Garcia who got them. I cannot remember, but I think so.
That's correct.
Yeah. And I have no idea how that went. But apparently it's a difficult fish to keep. That's for sure. So it will never be a mainstay in the hobby, just simply because of that. But it is a bit of a shame, because as you can see, it's a fantastic looking fish, and it was very cool to see it alive. So if someone can just crack the code on how to keep them, I think they're going to have a good time keeping this fish. Staying with the stickfish, in Peru, you have these very cool looking flat little things. I think the look of the fish pretty much it gives away that this fish lives in the sand. So obviously it's not very easy to find unless you are looking for it, and most fish collectors can't be bothered going that far to find fish like this. So this is a fish that will be restricted to enthusiasts going to look for it and searching deliberately for this type of fish, and that's why we rarely see them. This one is from the Nanai, which is a river full of very, very well-known aquarium fish. It's being fished by fishermen constantly, but this type of fish, you basically never see it. It's never in the trade unless you go to some serious lengths, to try and get it. Actually, with exporters like Luis Enrique in Peru, you can succeed finding stuff like this because he has good contacts, and if you are willing to pay what it costs, he can get his guys to actually find it for you. And to me, this is a very interesting, very cool-looking fish. Rhiniloricariia is a genus that was pretty much totally unknown in the hobby until recent years, but now we have figured out that there are a handful of different Rhiniloricariia species in South America. and several of them have since been imported. So there is some interest in the hobby for this fish. It's got a pretty cool mustache, as you can see. In my photo tank, as you can see in these pictures, it will be very easy to spot. But if you keep it as you should keep it in a tank full of fine-grained sand, well, you will not see a lot of it. You will see the eyes popping up, and when you feed them, they come up and they search for food, and then they burrow themselves in the sand again. So it's a very cool little fish. Staying with the stickfish a little bit more. This one is another one coming in from Peru, from the same. I think it was actually from the same source, the same expedition. The guys from Austria. Going to certain areas of Peru looking for stickfish in particular, and they found this one as well, the cross Loracariidae species Urayaku from the Rio Urayaku. It's basically just looking like it's like a big a big Rena Loracariidae. That's what it is. Again, this is a fish that needs to burrow itself in the sand, or else it will just not feel very comfortable. But when they do feel comfortable, it's a very easy fish to take care of, and they will reward you with breeding behavior as well. The males are actually lip brooders, so they care for the eggs on the underside of their mouth. They lie on top of the eggs, and they care for them until they hatch. So it's a very cool fish to keep. Obviously, they will not do well with big and boisterous species that will eat all the food, because these are very slow-moving fish that need special care. But it's a cool addition to the hobby. That's for sure. This one is a fish that I added to this talk just a couple of weeks ago, actually, because I figured, even though this is an L number from Peru that has been around for a long time, getting a hold of this is very, very difficult. I was bugging the guys at Aquarium Glacier for quite a few years, about this fish. I asked them, if you see this on the export list in Peru, please let me know, because I'm very interested. And nothing happened, and nothing happened, and still nothing happened. And whenever you saw this fish online, it was a one-off in some tank over in the Asian fish communities, maybe a couple in the US here and there, but never in big numbers, and the price is terribly high. So this fish was very hard to get, but eventually Glacier called me up and they said, now we actually have a group of 7 if you are interested in getting them. And of course I was, and I do still have them in one of the tanks that I keep backstage at work, hoping to breed them, because as far as I know, nobody has ever seriously attempted to breed this fish before. There is a severe lack of information online and in books about this fish. Some sources claim that this is a fish growing to 40 centimeters. We never saw such big specimens. We only saw 20-25 centimeter specimens, so we don't really know. But the cool thing about this fish is that when Nathan Lujan, when he described this fish, he based his description on 2 specimens found in the Rio Marañón in Peru, and those were white, totally white, no color, which is what the name means, Panquimpuyu. It's some kind of local name meaning ghost or white fish. But as you bring them up and you keep them in shallow water, they turn gray, totally gray, and they do not get their light color back. As far as I can tell, I have not seen it. So that is, of course, very interesting and very peculiar. We do not know why it's like that, but it's one of the mysteries of plecos. It's found in pretty turbid waters with very low visibility. As you can see, the fish has very small eyes and very long filaments in the tail, which it's probably using those to feel around on its surroundings. And it's a very, very cool fish. It can even have a spotted pattern, as you can see from the picture in the middle. And if you can find this fish, you will be rewarded with a fish that is very active even during the day. It keeps crawling around in the tank searching for food. Whenever I enter the room, they come up to the glass like it's some kind of cichlid, so they must have some sort of visibility, and they want food. So it's a fantastic fish to have. But it's, like I said, it's a very special fish because of the white color it has in the wild and the black color it takes on in captivity. So if you can find this one, you are lucky. It's a very, very cool fish. Moving on now to Colombia, which of course is a country that has had a lot of issues with the civil war and the guerrilla, and a lot of areas in Colombia have been very, very hard to get to because of the risk of running into trouble. Which does not only go for us as visitors, but also for local people. And that means that you have a lot of interesting areas in Colombia waiting to be discovered. And again, that means a lot of new types of fish waiting to be discovered. And this is one of those. This is, again, a stickfish. This one is actually the true Pseudohemiodon apitanos from the Rio Caqueta, which is a river that is not far from the Peruvian border, I think. And the thing is, you may recognize the name if you are into plecos, because that name has been used for a fish coming out of Peru, a black and white fish from Peru. For a long time, we were pretty sure that that was the real Apitanos, based on the description and what material we had. And then eventually this one showed up from exporters in Colombia. And the beautiful network pattern it has fits even better with the original description of Pseudohemiodon apitanos. And later it was also confirmed to me by the guy who described them, Mr. Isaac Icebreaker, that this is indeed the real apitanos. A very, very, very cool fish. One of the coolest things about them, we just talked about color with the previous one, the L350. But have a look at this one. Have a look at the red one in the lower left corner, because that is the same fish. Some individuals coming in are colored rusty red. We have, again, no idea what it means. It does not seem to have anything to do with gender or breeding mode or anything like that. They are just red, and some of them are black on the on one half of the fish, and they have pattern on the other half. So it's truly a fish of many colors and a lot of camouflage. They are experts in switching on and off their pattern as they lay on the bottom, trying to glide into their surroundings. As you can tell, this one is a fish that needs to have fine-grained sand so it can burrow itself, because that's basically how it lives. Again, this is a fish that you normally would just see the eyes popping up from the sand. A very cool fish. Should be pretty easy to get from Colombia these days, because once it was on the list, it's been on the export lists ever since, I think. The price is high, but it's a beautiful and very cool fish. Highly recommended. And it actually comes from the same area as this one. This one came in at exactly the same time. They were probably collected together from the Rio Caqueta. You remember the cool fish with the mustache I showed you from Peru? This is the cousin. This one is the one from Rio Caqueta in Colombia. It's a different species of Radino Loracariidae. It's a bigger fish than the Peruvian one. But you can see it also has this amazing mustache that or the lips is what it really is, that it uses to search for insect larvae and small crustaceans in the sand. I think they call it dragon Loracariidae in Colombia on the export lists. Very nice fish, but unfortunately a bit sensitive. Not very easy to. I think they're a bit sensitive to switching environments, basically, and they don't like transport very much. So the first few weeks after getting them are very important to try to make them settle in without getting sick and just dying off and make them eat, basically. Staying in Colombia, we have this one, this one was for a very long time on the very top of my wish list. It's a very, very fascinating L number pleco. Have a look at the lower right picture, which is an adult fish. So this is a tiny thing. One of the smallest types of what can I say? One of the smaller Ancistrina species in the world. It's full grown at only 2 inches, as you can see. And the funny thing is, this one was described by accident by some ichthyologists who actually was working on Leporacanthicus. And they figured that these were just juvenile Leporacanthicus when they collected them. So they brought them in, and as they desecrated them and had a closer look at them in the lab, they figured, well, these are actually fully grown, mature fish from something of a totally different species. Which is why they named it Micracanthicus vandracti, the L280. It turns out that in the wild, it's pretty widespread in Rio Ventuari and Rio Atabapo in the Colombia-Venezuela border area. But it also turns out that the fish collectors, they knew of them, but they threw them back basically because they also figured these are just juvenile Leporacanthicus, and we want to sell bigger Leporacanthicus, so we're just throwing these back into the river because we can't sell these; they're too small. But as the exporters in Colombia were made aware, and the word spread to the fishermen, they started coming in, and it did not turn out to be very hard to get them. They were actually very easy to find in many places. So now it has become more of a staple thing on the lists in Colombia, just because we have been, asking and asking and asking over and over again, can you please bring in those small ones as well? So it's a very, very cool little pleco. You can keep it in a very small tank. It turns out to be extremely easy to breed. And the pattern, as you can see, it can be black with white spots, and it can be dull gray color. It's an individual thing, and it does not really have much to do with gender or age. The funny thing is that Nathan Lujan, who described them, he told me that he had found evidence that this fish was crossbreeding in the river with a type of Hypancistrus. Hypancistrus, he called them controdens. He did not follow up my questions because I found it very, very peculiar that this is happening. But the point is, he considers them a Hypancistrus now, not a Micracanthicus, which is why I have written / Hypancistrus on the slide here. To me, it does not really make sense given how they look. There are some major differences between these and Hypancistrus, but if they actually crossbreed in the wild, well, okay, then there must be something to it. It's a very interesting little fish. And then you have this one, which is definitely one of the newer exports from Colombia. The Sudancistrus sidereus from the Rio Ventuari again. Rio Ventuari is one of the hotspots for plecos in the Colombia-Venezuela border area. And this one has actually also been known for quite a while. It's depicted in some elder literature of catfish and plecos, but it was never exported until recently. And the cool thing about this fish is obviously the dorsal fin. As you can tell, it has a very shark-like pointed dorsal fin, which gives it a very, very cool and appealing look. Unfortunately, the guys in Colombia, they know that, well, this is a rare fish, so we can demand a lot of dollars for this one. So it's still sold for very high prices. And I guess, the looks are not that appealing. If you have to pay, $150 for this fish, would you do it? Well, most people actually would not. So again, this is why they normally end up in the Far East instead, because, well, they will pay just because it's rare. But it's a very cool fish. I had a couple for quite a while, sold them off. I don't know what happened to them. Probably died somewhere, as it often goes. But yeah, it's a cool fish, and it's a cool new item from Colombia. This is a mix, actually. Again, from Colombia. This one came in as, I can't even remember what they came in as, but I think it was just unidentified hypencystrus. That always sounds very appealing. But when you get them and they look like this, well, you do feel a little bit disappointed because, well, they don't have really a lot of color to show off. But again, it just goes to show that there's a lot of variation in the wild where they come from. I have been able to identify these eventually. I did not when I first made this presentation. I had no idea what these were, but as you can see from the fish on the upper right corner, you do see some faint stripes, and it's probably a very pale and dull colored L199, which is the Hypencystrus furunculus, a very well-known Hypencystrus from Colombia. And the one to the left is probably Hypencystrus lunaorum, the L339, but an individual with very little pattern. So the excitement kind of died off a bit once I realized what they were, but at least it was cool to see that there can be a lot of variation even in these wild forms. On the other end of the scale, you have something very spectacular coming out of Colombia, which is this one, which is the true Hypencystrus inspector, a topic that has been debated over and over and over again, especially online, because that name has been thrown around on various types of Hypencystrus. And for a very long time, it took it for granted that it was the L102 from Brazil that was inspector, even though we had learned that it was actually described based on fish from a different area. And of course, eventually, they show up, and this is it. Coming out of Colombia, not from Brazil. This one is actually found in the Rio Guaina, which is what they call Rio Negro on the Colombian side of the border. So it's from an area, a border area between Colombia and Brazil. And just by saying that, that maybe you don't really want to go there without some kind of extra, security. So, but fishermen are at work in the area, have been for a few years now, and that is where they find this one. It's a very, very nice looking fish. As you can see, it has a lot of white spots. It's a big, big species, growing to 10 inches, which again fits with the original description of Hypencystrus inspector. And it's worth noticing that this fish, it has no L number because, well, this was not known to us until recently, and it has already been described. Whereas the L102 from Brazil keeps its L number and no longer has a valid scientific name, because they are probably two different species. They do share some similarities, but at least to me, I think they are too far apart to be considered the same species. This one is a very beautiful fish, very expensive, hard to find. Some people in Europe have been breeding them, I think, but not much success. So if you can find these, you should definitely grab them. They are absolutely awesome. Then we are moving on to a country which it's a bit funny, because Suriname, if you go many, many years back, Suriname was a place where you found and exported a lot of very common, well-known aquarium fish for the hobby. You have tons and tons of very well-known species living in Suriname, but nowadays we tank breed most of them. So there has been very little export of fish from Suriname for a very long time. But again, we knew that Suriname has quite a few species of fish that are very hard to mass produce in captivity. And because there has been very little export, we knew very little of them. We saw some pictures, mainly from ichthyologists and scientists, checking, doing field observations and showing some pictures online. So we realized that there are quite a few very interesting fish and catfish and plecos living in Suriname that would be great additions to the hobby if we could only get them. And lo and behold, some guys decided to start an export station in Suriname. And they went about, collected fish, and offered them onto the market. And the prices were extremely high, which again, of course, led to only the Asian market being interested. And one of the species that caught the eye of pleco fans all over the world was, of course, this one, the Pseudacanthicus serratus, the completely black cactus pleco with a very menacing look, evil eyes, big teeth. It just looks pretty mean, the whole fish, which again leads to a lot of fans around the world asking for this fish. Very, very high priced. And for a long time, we only saw very big specimens coming out, one of those per box. You can only imagine the freight cost as well. So it took a very long time before we found a good source that could supply us up in the cold north of Bergen. But eventually we got them to take a closer look at them, and it is a very, very cool fish. In the wild, known from Rio Moroni, Rio Corantin, and Rio Sipalwini. So it has a pretty wide distribution in the area. As juveniles, they do have white spots, and as they grow, they lose them and they turn totally black. And it's a stunning fish, really. It would do pretty well in a tank full of cichlids as well, because this one can definitely take care of itself. And it's worth mentioning that fish like this are not too fussy about stuff like pH level and hardness and stuff like that. As long as the water is pristine, clean, highly oxygenated, then they're pretty happy. And not too cold, obviously. They do love the warm water. Also from Suriname, this one, which is Hemiancistrus medians. Hemiancistrus is a name that was thrown around for a lot of plecos, but is mostly inaccurate. This one, though, is in fact the original Hemiancistrus. Again, a very nice fish from the Maroni River, which is it's a major river in Suriname, so it's very easily accessible for anyone who wants to go collect. The thing is, like I said, there's not a lot of ornamental fish collecting going on in Suriname, and those guys who are doing it, they sure know how to make money of it. So this one is also extremely expensive, but it's a very cool fish. But it turns out to be a bit fussy. It's hard to keep. It will not eat anything. It's what they call an Aufwuchs eater. I mean, they graze on biofilm, like the golden nuggets. They are also notoriously known for being hard to keep because they're fussy eaters. This one is the same thing. So it's a bit of a shame because of the high price. People kept on losing them all the time because they would not eat. So I guess we could say that this one is not really an ideal aquarium fish, because we need to kind of figure out how to keep them first. Again, staying in Suriname, this one is a fish that you can tell by the name, Ancistrus teminki. This name has been in the hobby forever. You will find it in books, literature, magazines, online sources, as the name mostly used for that domestic line of Ancistrus that most people keep, which is, of course, wrong, because this one is the real true Ancistrus teminki from Suriname. I can only imagine that once upon a time this one was one of the fish coming out of Suriname during the days when they exported whatever they had, and that might be why this name stuck in the hobby. because people thought that, well, it's an ancistrus, so it's probably ancistrus teminki, which has led to a lot of confusion later on. But this one is the real one, and it's a pretty fish. It's not very special, it's not very unique, but it's a cool fish, and it's cool to see how the true teminki actually looks, and not very pricey either. So for a Suriname fish, this is actually something that anyone can pick up without being totally ruined. And even in Suriname, some new fish occur and are found, such as this one. I have been in close dialogue with one of the scientists, a French guy called Raphael Couvin, who is working with plecos in South America, and he's been describing a lot of fish from the Suriname and Guyana area, and he knows very well the types of Pecoltia and Panaculus and what's there. So when I showed him pictures of this fish, he immediately said that, well, that is something new. We have not seen that one before. We have heard about a fish that is said to come from a certain area up in the Rio Sipalwini, and I could confirm that this one was from that area. So we figured, well, yeah, we're talking about the same fish, which is something entirely new and undescribed. And again, that means we could actually give it an L number. So it was pretty cool to actually give an L number to a Suriname pleco as well. So this is L502, like I said, from the Rio Sipalwini. A pretty little Pecoltia species. It's not amazing looking. It's not very striking. It will never have huge potential. So it's always going to stay like a novelty in the hobby. But at least it's cool for those who are looking for something else and something rare. And again, this is a fish with a price tag that means that most people actually can pick them up if they want them. We do know that there are even more potential L numbers coming out of Suriname, but in later times, the export situation has kind of stopped again. I guess they figured out that, with the high prices, there will be a limited market all over the world. So I guess they need a new kind of philosophy to get up and going again in Suriname. Okay, I think that was actually my last fish to present to you guys. I would just like to mention, as you see here, that we do run a website. A friend of mine, Lars, and we are running this page called Loracariidae.info. Here we do try to create new profiles every now and then for species of plecos, and that includes L numbers and the stickfish that we talked about. The goal is basically to have as accurate information as possible, because there's no way around the fact that a lot of online sources are not entirely correct always, and do have some inaccurate pictures and names, and we are aiming to actually be as correct as we possibly can be with this page right here. So if you want to read more and you want to learn more about a lot of these fish, then please take a look at our website and drop us a message if you have any questions about it. Finally, I would just like to thank my friends who have been contributing with pictures to this talk. As you can see, a lot of good guys have chipped in. Without them, it would not be the same. So I'm very grateful for that. Yeah, I guess that's about it.
Great talk.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Welcome to the U.S. as best we can this year.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you for having me over.
One question I have for you, Haakon, is with all these new imports, what's the best way to treat them when they first come in?
That is a good question. I think it kind of depends a little bit on what you already know about the fish. I mean, if you see something entirely new in a fish shop and you realize that, well, this is a brand new import, in my opinion, it would be good to, have a mentality that says this may be the only opportunity. So whatever I do, I should definitely pick up multiple specimens, and I should give them a tank of their own, just in case it would be a good idea to breed them. Because who knows if this is the only chance you get, and you may want to be able to share them with some friends in the hobby. Eventually, you are going to lose a few of them, so it would be nice that someone else has them as well. So that's to me, that's probably the right kind of mentality when you see something brand new that you really want.
And do you have like a typical setup that you would recommend, or even conditions or anything like that?
Yeah, most plecos can be kept and maintained and even bred using a few factors that always matter a lot. I mean, the clean water, that is the most important thing. Clean water. They do need a very low amount of nitrates to stay healthy. They do need a good filtration system that can break down all those excess nutrients, because you will have to feed them a lot to build them up and to condition them. That is very important. And apart from that, a lot of oxygen. Obviously, they do love oxygen in the water, and of course, not too cold. That's always a key. 25 degrees or more is almost without exception. That is absolutely necessary. So if you can do those things, then and also it's a good thing to keep them on their own. Do not mix them in your Tanganyika tank right away, because they might have some trouble getting enough food. That's very important.
And along those lines, do you medicate, or are there any sort of medications that you use? There was a question from the chat.
Yeah. It's always good to use some kind of dewormer, even for these fish, because of how they live in the wild, they will be exposed to exactly the same diseases and parasites as any kind of fish living in the same waters. So it's always good to have some kind of dewormer ready, and also some kind of antibacteria. I have noticed, especially with the stickfish, the Loracariidae, they are very, very prone to having this bacteria that makes their whole back turn red. And that is a typical way of losing them during the first couple of weeks. So keep a close eye on that one. But apart from that, they are mostly pretty hardy fish as long as you can get them to eat. They mostly, one of the big issues when importing fish like this is that they have been without food for too long. So they are starving, and even their gut bacteria is starting to malfunction. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to get them to eat right away.
There was also a question about water flow, and I can attribute to that water flow is super important, oxygen content especially. So make sure that you have a nice flowing filter for them when they first arrive.
Absolutely. And I have noticed that a lot of people think that at least when it comes to breeding plecos, you do need a lot of flow. But I have been doing some experimenting with that, and it turns out that as long as you have a lot of oxygen in the water, the flow does not need to be very heavy. And that also helps when it comes to feeding, right? Because if you have extreme flow in your tank and you have a bottom-oriented fish, how do you make the food go to the bottom and stay there so they can take their time and come out and eat? But if you have less flow, but keep up the oxygen amount by using simple air stones, the fish will be equally as happy, and they will breed. I did this experiment with, for example, Hypancistris and Picoltia species, not necessarily fish that live in the strongest current in the wild, but it turns out that they breed as easily in tanks with much, much less flow.
Well, I've got a question on that oxygen content. Is there a test kit in the aquarium hobby? It's something I've never really researched, or is it just empirical and you just do the obvious, which is lots of aeration?
Well, honestly, I never tested the oxygen level. I just I look at the fish. How do they behave? Do they breathe the right way, or do they breathe heavily? You know, do they seem fine with this oxygen level that I have now? And you can just tell by the looks of them if they're doing all right. But yes, you can buy certain test kits from the big manufacturers. At least over here in Europe, you have big German commercial manufacturers producing very simple, easy to use oxygen test sets that you can buy if you want to figure out if you have enough oxygen in your water. Definitely. But like I said, you can tell just by how your fish behave. With a pleco, if it's hanging on the wall close to the surface of your tank, something is not right.
Right.
If it's on the bottom, it's cool.
I got a question here from Mark Soberman.
I know that name.
You know Mark? Yeah, he's a pretty important catfish guy over here. He has bought something as an L345, and he's not sure that's a valid number.
I think that, you know, my name has for quite a few years been attached to an article called Chaos in Black and White, which is a pretty it's on the Amazonas magazine website. And this article is an article that people keep referring to.
Inside joke, huh?
The thing is, with the Haakon sisters from Rio Xingu in Brazil, you have a lot of L numbers, but the question is, do you have a lot of species? And like I said in the presentation, the ichthyologists working on them, they really don't want you to ask this question because it's a nightmare for them. Because they have tried to figure out how to tell them apart and what's what and what's not. And it's the thing about L345, which makes it very difficult to say, is that the original one, if you read the original article in the DATS magazine, German magazine, it says that, here we have a fish coming from Rio do Pará in Brazil. And it looks like this. Here's the picture. And it's a Haakon sisters. And eventually it turns out that, well, nobody ever found any Haakon sisters in that river. So, well, that's a problem. And the fish looks exactly like a kind of fish you will find in the Rio Xingu. So what is it then? How can you actually use that number and say this is definitely L345? That's pretty difficult, you know. But again, being a very rare number, there will be people around trying to benefit from that, right? So it goes around, but to me, you know, I could not ever say that, that's a 345. I don't think anyone can, to be honest. Nobody.
All right, thank
you.
A
lot of the fish, we don't really know exactly where they were collected unless we personally collect them. And so that makes it very difficult, especially when it's a new import and you kind of have to go back to the exporter, and then they have to go back to the fisherman, and the fisherman may not be willing to share where they caught the fish in the first place. So because obviously that could jeopardize their well-being. So it's difficult at times. Like CW111, the Corridors that everybody's after, there's a lot of speculation on that particular species. And somebody went looking for that fish and couldn't even find a scientist. So
that's true.
It's difficult sometimes to figure out where fish come from and knowing your source. So that becomes even more important, knowing the source of the fish.
There is, during the 90s, when all this was total madness, especially in Germany, the importers in Germany obviously brought in a lot of the new L numbers. And I had a talk with one of those guys, Mr. Andre Werner, a name you will see on a lot of original pictures of L numbers. And I was talking to him, regarding Haakon sisters, and we were talking about the L333, right? And he was fuming because somebody had revealed where they actually were collected. Because his intention was to keep that a secret, like he did with the L236 and the L250, right? So he deliberately confused people, saying, "Oh, they come from the Rio Iriri." Yep, that's where they are from. So good luck finding them. Yeah, because no, that is not where they come from at all. So what you say is actually totally true. It is a way of keeping the commercial aspect and keeping rivals at bay, so that you will actually have monopoly on this species because you're the only one knowing where to find it. So that has been done with quite a few L numbers in at least in Brazil. Yeah, it has.
Yeah, I remember asking somebody in Peru where they collected a certain woodcat, and they responded with Peru, and I'm like, okay, that narrows it down.
Yeah. Peru, go see for yourself.
I left it alone after that. I'm like, okay, he doesn't want to do it. That's fine.
Yeah. Yep.
So
John wanted to know how's the aquarium business in Norway. Do you guys see certain things? Like here in the States, we see a lot of nano tanks, a lot of planet tanks, biotopes. Plecos are still the rage. We still see a lot of cichlids in the Midwest and into the Northeast. What's it like in Norway?
That is actually a very lovely question to get because this is a topic that I could probably talk way too long about, but I'm going to try to keep it short. So the thing is, if you go back 20, maybe 30 years, right? People had big tanks. And in those tanks, they had cichlids. That's how they did it, right? And the tanks were huge, and they had big, bulky furniture and all that stuff. And then eventually, the hobby faded out during the 2000s. And now it's bouncing back, just like in the US with nano tanks, right? So now we are selling a lot of small tanks. And I think the hobby is doing pretty well. You have to remember we're a pretty small country. We have 5 million people in total. And that does not leave a lot of fish keepers, really. But still, for people in my profession, in the pet trade, we are doing very well, especially during the COVID crisis, because people are staying at home, doing hobbies, spending their money on stuff like that instead of traveling. So right now, the hobby is the aquarium, the fish hobby is doing well, but to me, it's been for a long time a little bit disappointing how much time goes between every sale of a big aquarium. Yeah, because most people, they go for the beginner sets, the small ones, the nano tanks. You have the typical gang of 5 people who are very much into cichlids, who cannot understand why nobody else wants to buy them. And they keep trading back and forth between them. And eventually they come to me with a bag full of juveniles saying, "Can you please sell this?" So it's probably the same here as it is over there, I guess. The only major difference is that we don't have the same number of people, basically. But the way the hobby is doing is pretty much the same, I think. Yeah.
There's another question on our chat here. They wanted to know if you were working with any scientists. I know Nathan came up in your talk, so I know he's a scientist out of Canada, and he travels frequently to the U.S. But I do like this question a lot because I think there's a lot of room here for aquarists to work with scientists, and I know that's been happening more and more. So are you working with any currently?
Actually, I am. I have been mostly working with the Brazilian guys, Leandro Sousa and his colleagues. And that is something that it goes back many, many years. And I think we have the German guys to thank for a lot of that, because the L number days in Germany, in Hanover, they bring in Leandro every time, because he's on top of the whole scientific aspect of catfish and pleco keeping. So they always bring him in, for the latest update on what's going on and his findings and how we can understand this type of fish. And obviously Leandro and his colleagues, they are super nice guys who are just thrilled that there are crazy people living very far away who wants to talk to them about fish all the time. They are just amazed by this, and I guess previously you would see scientists as kind of, I wouldn't say the elite, but you know what I mean, people that you cannot really talk to as a hobbyist. But it turns out it's not like that at all. They are as nerdy as we are. They are as thrilled as we are to talk about the same things. The only difference is that, well, they have some kind of education that allows them to actually work scientifically with this fish. But the input that we give them and the data that we collect in aquarium, and that does not only go for plecos, that goes for all kinds of fish. The way we see fish behave in aquarium, that is an aspect that they very often miss during their work with fish, because they pick it up from a river and they put it on a jar and they send it off to somewhere, and they go there and they take it out of the jar and they desecrate it, and that's a new species, right? But they don't know much about what's going on with the fish, how the fish behaves and how it breeds and all these things. How does it change the look as it grows? All those things. And they love to hear about that. They really love to hear about that. So it has been, it's opened a lot of doors, I think, between hobbyists and scientists, that thing that has been going on in the catfish community, because now it's just a given that you have, 15, 20 scientists in your Facebook friends list that you talk to about whatever is fish. They just love it. So to cooperate with scientists, that's cool, and it's much more easy than maybe many people think it is, because they just love to hear and listen and share. Yeah,
if you like or hate Facebook, it's a great place to see new species showing up.
Yep, that's for sure.
I love that aspect of it.
Yep, absolutely. It's very important, and it's also very important considering how to maintain rare species in the hobby as well, because we learn we learn a lot about them. We learn a lot about the fish that we could not know had it not been for the scientists telling us what all those details, right? So we learn from each other. It's very beneficial.
Yeah, we might have never known that zebra plecos lay few eggs in comparison to other pleco species. So that right there is an important factor in knowing how to potentially try to save the species. L280 is in that same boat, even though it's widespread. They have very small clutches, so it's a very nice fish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody asked, what beer are you drinking?
Yeah, well, let's see if I can show it off here. Can you tell?
Julefree?
Yeah. Julefree.
How do you pronounce that?
Yeah.
So that's the brand right there.
Julefree, is that how you say that?
Yeah, Julefree. And it's kind of funny though. Because this is a non-alcoholic beer.
What's the point?
So that's why they call it Julefree. Yeah, it's a local one.
You want a beer, you want the flavor, but not the alcohol.
Yeah, and it turns out it's very good. So I guess these guys, they will be big in America now, I guess. Yeah.
Free advertising.
Yeah, I will send them a bill later on.
Right.
You have to bring some with you next time you.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's highly recommended. It goes very well with talks.
Do we have any other questions? There was a question about asking how certain species of Loracariidae reproduce. I know that's kind of an open. There's so many different ways that they brood, but can you kind of go over some of the species that you talked about today?
I think that part of the reason why many people are into cichlids and catfish as well may have to do with behavior, right? Because part of the reason why we love cichlids is because of how they care for their young. That is very fascinating. That's something that makes us intrigued by these fish, right? And that goes for plecos as well. Most plecos actually care for their young to a certain extent. At least they care for the eggs and for the newly hatched offspring. Normally it's the father, the male fish, that will care for the clutch, either in a cave or, like I said in the talk, straight onto the substrate if they are a lip brooder, like a stickfish of that kind. Nonetheless, it's very, very fascinating to witness this behavior. And I think that because many plecos are actually quite easy to breed, that is one of the reasons why they are popular, why people enjoy having them, because it gives you a good feeling when you are able to bring up a good clutch of young, and yeah, it's cool to watch this behavior. So, but most plecos breed in the same way. Most plecos need a cave, and that cave needs to fit the male so that he can shut out any kind of intruder by using his fins to kind of block the whole entrance. So the key basically to breeding plecos is have the right caves, have clean water, have warm water. Do not focus too much on having too many females, because with plecos, it's actually the females are choosing the dad, right? So they need multiple choices. They're going to go for the best one. So if you have one female and she has 4 potential dads, she's going to have a look and, yeah, I'll go for that guy. He looks like a good father. Normally, she will choose well, and she will find the best father who will take care of the young and make sure that you have a really good result with, him not eating the eggs and killing the female during the spawning and all that stuff. If she only has one choice, one male, well, you never know what's going to happen. And remember that she's going to have to lay her eggs no matter what, right? So you don't need 5 females and 1 male. What are all the females going to do with all their eggs? They have no place to put them. He can't handle all of them anyway. So just
lucky guy.
Yeah. So, but that's also it's a funny thing, because I have people complaining all the time that there are so many more males available than females. We cannot find females. Yeah, well, lucky you, because that's what you need.
Yeah.
Right.
I completely agree with that, because the males are doing all the work. They're guarding the eggs and the offspring, and they need a little bit of time to recoup.
Yep.
And so if you have more males than females, the females are usually ready within 2 to 4 weeks again to reproduce, especially the smaller species.
Yeah.
So the males need a little bit of a resting period. So I find that to be true as well.
Absolutely.
Very good point.
Yeah.
There was also a question about your website, asking if it has info on species and their care and habitats and whatnot.
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, we did actually try deliberately to keep the information texts, short, not very short, but short enough that people can be bothered reading through it. Mm-hmm. So I think maybe, we have been discussing back and forth if we should add more information, as the kind of information that is being asked about here. But we do try to include a little bit of information at least. But it's, again, for plecos, normally they do not really care very much about your pH level or your hardness, So you can actually make them happy almost in any kind of tap water, as long as it's not full of chlorine. Just make sure it's warm and has a lot of oxygen, and that's basically it. So water values are important only to a certain extent, but remember, most plecos are not, for example, blackwater fish. Blackwater fish are very picky about everything. Most plecos are not blackwater fish. They come from clear water or white water. So they can deal with a wide range of water values and still be happy.
Perfect. Any other questions? I'm not seeing any.
I noticed there's a lot of interest on the discussion here about Mark's 345s.
Oh, yeah, it's like a hornet's nest. Well, yeah. I mean, people, we as humans, we need answers, right? Mm-hmm. But you can't have them. That's basically it.
Yeah, I think again, knowing the source of the fish is so important, but we oftentimes just have to go by what the exporters or even the importers are telling us. So
yeah, and also you need to have some kind of background understanding maybe of how that number came to be, and why is it still in use. There has been no new imports of L345 ever since that one, the first one. So why is it still around? How does that happen? It should make you raise some serious questions about the dealers involved from step one in Brazil. Are they trustworthy? And so on and so on, because it's very tempting to put that label on a fish to make it rare and valuable, and maybe if you really want, you can see some traits that it has to be 345, and nobody can really say no, it's not, because well, it could be. It looks pretty much like the 345 in the original pictures, so maybe.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
And sometimes you just enjoy your fish to enjoy them,
Yep.
It's a pretty fish to look at, and it's happy in my aquarium, and I'm happy looking at it. So
that should be the main thing, really.
Yes.
Try to keep the lines pure. Yeah.
There was a question about what do you think, Haakon, is a good ratio of males to females based on your experience?
Mm-hmm. What I experience with plecos is that you have to consider the aggression level of the genus. When you have, for example, Hypensistrus, they are very timid, peaceful fish. You can have, if you have a tank of 100 liters, I don't know what that would be in gallons. You could shove 10 fish in there, 5 pairs. They would breed like rabbits, no problem at all. Give each male a cave. They will be happy, and there will be youngs all over the place. But you cannot do the same with, for example, say a cactus pleco, right? Say a Pseudacanthicus, because they are angry, they are mean, they are territorial. They do not mind killing each other and killing other plecos as well. So obviously you need to give them more space, right? But the ratio, well, with big angry fish like that, maybe with some luck settle for a pair and hope that they will not kill each other. There is no use shoving in 2 pairs, because that's not going to end well anyway. So it really depends on what kind of genus you're working with, I think. But the ratio is not very important. It's not like you need to have this number of males and this number of females. Just make sure that you have both sexes, basically. And for the most part, you can have multiple specimens, but not with the angry, aggressive species.
So just a quick question with Ancistrus, not too big, not too mean, 50-50, or what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Ancistrus are they're a bit feisty when they meet each other over a pellet, but it's nothing big. They will do all right. They have their armor, so it's okay. So for them, I think 50-50 should be fine. And luckily, most Ancistrus will be very, very easy to breed.
Right.
So they should not be hard to get going, as long as they have some kind of shelter for the male. You will normally have eggs very fast. But again, of course, Ancistrus is a very, very, very big, numerous genus. It has an incredible amount of species spread, all over South America, and there are definitely a few species that are not so easy. I mentioned the L34 in the talk, the flat one from the Xingu, which is a very common fish in the hobby. You can buy it, in any pet shop selling fish. You can occasionally find that one, but that is no simple and easy to care for Ancistrus. It has the same name, but it's a totally different fish. That takes a lot of, care and special feeding, and it's a whole different thing to work with that one. So with Ancistrus, it's not always the same just because it's an Ancistrus. That's worth mentioning, I think. So if you're dealing with some kind of ancistrus, you have to probably look into that specific species, basically.
Cool. Thank you. Other questions, folks?
I didn't see any other specific.
Okay.
You have any special foods that you like to use or feed?
Yeah, actually, I'm a very big fan of Repashy, which is very well known in the US. I know, because Alan is making a lot of high quality food for reptiles as well. But I have been using his food for, at least for a couple of years now, and for me that is probably the best kind of food I can find for at least for plecos, because of how it, it's a lump, it sinks to the bottom, it stays on the bottom, the fish can eat it in their own time, take the time they need, it will not pollute everything. So it's very easy and good food, and it has the right kind of ingredients. You can actually mix it up as you want. There's so many different types of Repashy to choose from. So I normally mix 4 or 5 different types into one.
Oh.
But as far as commercial food goes, I always use a lot of frozen foods like brine shrimp, white mosquito larvae. I use a lot of live food, blackworms, tubifex. I don't use a lot of dry food, honestly. And if I do, it's some kind of, German mass-produced, like Tetra or JBL or something like that. Mm-hmm. But I would certainly recommend Repashy as like probably the best choice for any kind of pleco, because you can tweak it. Like I said, you can tweak it to the kind of species or the genus that you're working with. You can tweak the ingredients based on what you mix up. And that works perfectly well, I think.
Yeah, I use a lot of that too. It's a great product, and they offer several different lines of food, and it doesn't take that long to make, and it's the extra effort that you put into making the food is well worth it. So I can definitely put a plug in for Repashy gel foods.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, live or frozen, that's probably the best. I mean, that's what they're used to eating in the wild, so you can't get any better than that.
It is kind of important, I have to say that, when it comes to feeding plecos, because working in a pet shop, I get all the typical questions from people coming in. Do you have that kind of fish that eats the shit of the other fish? And do you have that fish that will eat all the green stuff? Yeah. Okay. So they are referring to the plecos, right? Mm-hmm. And I tell them, yeah, I do. I do have a lot to choose from. Have a look and see if you see some that you like, because I like to tease them a bit. Yeah. So they walk around and they have a look, and yeah, we really like that one that is yellow with black dots. Yeah, it does not eat any algae. That one eats, it eats beef. And they are a bit shocked. Yeah, but that's not what we heard. Yeah, well, welcome to the world of plecos. That's how it is. Because it's very important to know that plecos, they need the right kind of. Most of them are, I would say, probably omnivores. Mm-hmm. A few are herbivores for sure, and very many of them are carnivores, definitely. So if you take your golden nugget that you bought, and you feed him too much meat, he's going to have trouble, because his intestines are very long, because he's a herbivore, right? And if you feed, Brussels sprouts to your Pseudacanthicus, he's not going to touch it. He's going to look at you and try to figure out how to kill you, because he's. So you have to know how, what is your pleco used to eating? What's his preferred type of food, because they're not all algae eaters. That is very important to know, because most people see them as algae eaters, but that's not the case.
Do we have time for one more question?
Yeah, I would say we have time for one more question, and then we'll probably go on to the next thing.
So Eric Bodrock asks what your thoughts are on mixing different genres of plecos, different species.
Yeah, That's a good question, and I know that Eric, he knows his plecos, so he probably has some kind of idea already. But it's a good question because crossbreeding is certainly an issue. We talked briefly about Hypensistrus and the 345. You may want to see that as a very good example of what can happen, right? Because if you keep two types of Hypensistrus in your tank, they may very well crossbreed, especially if you are lacking females of the one kind or lacking males of the other kind. They will crossbreed, and it's happened again and again and again. So I think that it's not, the risk is not as big with every genus, but it certainly is very big with a few genuses. I mean, we know crossbreeds from Hypensistrus, we know crossbreeds from Pseudacanthicus, very likely to occur in Panaculus and a lot of others as well. If they are closely related, they will crossbreed. But if you want to keep Pecoltia, a pair of them, and you want to keep a pair of Hypensistrus, and you want to keep a pair of Ancistrus as well, they will not interbreed with each other. That's very unlikely. But keeping multiple species of the same genus, that's going to be a problem for sure. And with the Hypensistrus is the absolutely perfect example of this because of all the cool black and white chaotic types coming out from the Xingu in Brazil. People are, I have this and I have that, and they have been crossbred all over the place in captivity. So people lost track totally of what they actually have. Mm-hmm. And it may not be a big problem, honestly, because it turns out that most of the black and white Hypensistrus from Xingu is actually the same species. Mm. As you you probably, it's again, it depends on which doctor would you listen to. It's probably the same as with a lot of Malawi and Tanganyika cichlids. How far down to detail level can you go to say that's a species and that's the same species and that's a different species? With the Hypensistrus, it turns out that most of those from Xingu are the same species, except from the zebra. Right? The zebra is indeed a unique species, and also the L74. The small one, the tiny thing, the ocelot. That's a separate species. Apart from those, it's all the same thing. So if people mix them up in aquariums, it's not terrible, but it just means that you can no longer sell your line of 333s as pure because it's been mixed with 66 and 400 and whatnot, right?
I think that kind of goes back to, keep the locations if you have them, make sure you're keeping track of that. And that goes really for any fish, cichlids or catfish. So really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
It was a true pleasure. Honestly, it was absolutely fantastic. I'm so happy that you had me. I wish I could do this every weekend, actually. That would be
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Definitely thank you, and thank you to Jeremy for joining us to add a little color from a pleco keeper standpoint.
Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, Jeremy. Appreciate it. And definitely thank you to you, Haakon. That's
thank you guys. So nice to see all of your faces and meet you. Hopefully next time it will be in person. That would be fantastic.
Someday.
Yeah.
Someday.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot. Okay, we are on to we're going to go to here in just a little bit a giveaway. We got 3 giveaways we're going to do. Lou, do you know what the prizes are?
I do. Hillary texted me, and these are very appropriate. We're going to give away some Pleco Caves from Brantley Berry at Pleco Caves. And we're going to give away each prize will be a box of Pleco Caves. Now, we don't know how many are in the box. So this is kind of, you might be getting, even if you get one, that's nice. But you might get a few.
All right, well, here we go. We're going to spin the wheel for the first winner.
Hey, Jason.
All right. I thought
Yeah.
I was about ready to land on Gary.
That's Jason's YouTuber that gave us some publicity.
Cool.
So I'm glad he got some. Yes.
All right.
Thanks.
Here we go. Next round. All right. You know that person?
I don't know Luann.
All right. Well, she'll be getting some free stuff in the mail. Awesome. All right. And our last one.
Oh.
Cabin.
Should we let him win, or do we want to spin it again?
Up to him.
Yeah, we'll let him win. All right. Nice job, JJ. Okay. Well,
We'll save a little bit on shipping there.
yeah.
Oh, no, we'll have to ship it to Buffalo.
No, we won't.
Yes, yes, we will. Okay.
Okay. Let me get this back into our normal viewing. And here we go. All right. So on to the next segment here. And by the way, that's how we're going to be doing the rare fish raffle. I'll enter different groups of names for each fish. And for some lucky people out there, you bid on a fish that only has 3 people in it. So your odds are extremely good. Others of us, our odds are not that good. We've got higher numbers. But either way, it's going to be a lot of fun to see who wins all the cool prizes that we have out there. So we are on to the Jim Smith Fund. So Lou, take it away.
All right. So Jim Smith Fund does, we have a fund, an endowment fund that we collect money, collect donations, give grants for research, education, and conservation involving cichlids and catfish. Over the years, we've given over $21,000, and that's going to go up this year. And we appreciate all of you here for contributing, because simply by registering, you've contributed. Every single donation you made, every single rare fish raffle purchase you made goes to will go to next year's prize. Will go into the pot for next year. So I thought before I'd announce this, I'd give a little update on last year's winner. Last year, Joe Cutler won it. He's from California State University, and he also works for the National Geographic Society. His project is called the Ogowe Megatransect. It's an expedition traveling the whole length of the Ogowe River in Gabon. The idea was to sample fish and recording information about the habitat, in the hopes that they need scientific input there, because it's a possibility they'll be building dams in that drainage, and he wants to have a little input on where places you really shouldn't build and where it would be okay, or maybe there's a lot of things to factor in that kind of decision. So he wants to have some scientific input in that. He got a late start because of travel restrictions with COVID, but he finally got out there and completed his journey. I was following it on Instagram. He put up a whole bunch of really awesome short videos. And then I was very pleased to see that he had them put into an interactive map where you could see the whole length of his trip, and little dots where you click on the dot and you see the video from that dot. So I hope to get that map put up on Facebook sooner or later here, so you can all enjoy that. And you got to see some of those videos. A lot of drone shots that are just amazing for what you can see in a 30-second video. So let's get on to this year's grants. We're going to give 2 grants this year. The first one was proposed by Nick Zarlinga. He's the head aquarist at the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo. He works with a something called Project Piaba. And we're going to give a $300 donation from the Jim Smith Fund to Project Piaba. It focuses on the Barcelos region of Brazil, which an area that relies on collection of fish for the aquarium trade. And what Project Piaba does is, first of all, give them recommendations and guidance to make sure they're collecting in a sustainable manner so that the fish, are still there and they don't take too many. And that they also, so they have a good market for the fish. And the idea is to give them an incentive to take care of the local environment, and not sell out the logging and mining interests, and just give them a good reason, economic reason, to protect what they have there. And so congratulations, Nick, and thank you for turning us on to that idea, and hope to see you soon, Nick. The second prize is a bigger one. We're going to give $1,500 to Luis Tencott. He's a PhD researcher at the Federal University of South Mato Grosso in Brazil. Now, this is an interesting story. They got the Rio Correntes in southwestern Brazil. It's in the Rio Paraguay drainage. It travels down the river and then falls into a sinkhole, travels underground for like 3,000 feet, and then emerges and continues its way down. And what that does, the fish can't swim through that. They can't live under there. So it splits the river as far as species assemblages. Below the sinkhole, where it comes back out further downstream, you get the normal fish that you would find in the Rio Paraguay drainage. But above that is stuff that's been cut off long enough to do some speciating. So Luis tested it out by doing a day trip up there with Hans Evers, who spoke at last year's Extravaganza, and they collected a new cichlid and several new catfish species just in a day trip. So we're funding an expedition to do more thorough collecting of that area of the upper Rio Correntes, which should be pretty exciting to see what comes out of there. So congratulations, Luis, and good luck on your trip. He can hear. I don't know if he can hear us or not. I hope you're watching, Luis. I sent you the information, I think. So if you're watching this, you contributed to this award, to next year's award. If you gave us money, the raffle or anything at last year's Extravaganza, you contributed to this year's award. And like we said before, all the profits for this event goes to Jim Smith Fund. We sincerely thank you for that. Byron.
Very cool. All right. Well, I'm going to add our special guest here, who's going to take it away, and he's got some really cool things planned to let us know who won the virtual fish show. I'm looking forward to hearing who the winners are. I don't know if you're like me, you entered some contestants, and you're hoping maybe you're the winner, and you get to take home the big prize. So without further ado, here is Jeff Natter. Well, there's an umbrella.
You might be wondering why I've got an umbrella in the house. I'm telling you, we're about to make it rain money in here. We have special OCA dollars, and we are going to rain them all over the place. I'm glad you guys entered. This has been an awesome show. And it's given me a lot of opportunity to give people an opportunity to do something that they normally wouldn't have done. I used to be a show person back in the late 90s, early 2000s. Won my fair share of Pat Mahoney ACA medallions and best of shows, catfish, cichlids. But this has allowed us, even though we're not able to be together, this has allowed a lot of people to enter that wouldn't have normally gotten the chance. And for me, that's the biggest payoff. That's awesome. And so instead of going on and blah, 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 and we had a great panel of judges. The basic premise was a 30-second video. You had to put a ruler in. And I'm going to tell you, the ruler made the difference between reserve best and best of show. And even though it's very admirable and very accomplished to win best of show and reserve best of show, it was literally a 2-point difference between the two of them. And we'll be posting the results in the Facebook group, the OCA Virtual Fish Show. And I will put all the judging sheets up so people can look at those and tell what they, where their fish fell in that range. So we're going to get started and start showing everything. If I can get the technicalities figured out here.
Yeah, just click the share screen and you'll be good to go.
Yeah, I'm for some reason it's not doing anything when I click share.
Yeah, you just click the share screen and hit entire screen.
Yeah, that's what it's set up on. And it does not want to do that.
How about, yeah, I'm not even seeing you try. It doesn't even show that you tried to share your screen right now. Usually if you click the share screen, it would instantly come up.
Yeah, when I click the share screen, it goes to, your entire screen and share audio at the bottom. And the share button doesn't go active.
Click on the thing that says entire
right.
screen.
I got it.
All right.
There we go.
You were making fun of all those people on Facebook.
See, I'm making it into the world, this technological, it's kind of scary that a guy like me ran a virtual show, but we'll get there eventually, so. All right.
Click the little hide button there on the bumper down below. There you go.
Thank you. So Class 1, South American Cichlid, sponsored by Zen and Somorowski. Thank you, Zen. And we had a judge got lost in the process. And thankfully, Lee Newman jumped in like a trooper and saved me. So thank you, Lee. He did the judging. So third place, Class 1, Sam Garcia, Heroes Carrare. And if I butcher the names, you can slaughter me later. Second place, Class 1, Antonio Martina, Astronotus ocellatus longfin. And all these videos are in the OCA group. First place, Class 1, JJ Cabin, Cacti umbriferus, San Rafael, Gorillas Black. He has been bugging me for a week. Did my daughter win? This is like her fish. So, way to go. There's his umbriferus right there.
Ooh. Ah.
That is the Class 1 winner.
JJ's having a good day.
We're going to, yeah. Class 2, all of the New World Cichlids, sponsored by Claudia Dickinson, who also sent me the ACA medallion. And we thank you so much for your support. Judged by the fantastic Juan Miguel. Thank you, Juan. Thank you to all my judges. Third place, Class 2, Demetrio Barros, Amphilophus labiatus. And let me just tell you, Demetrio was messaging me a lot. And those are the nicest labiatus I've ever seen. They still have giant lips, even 3 generations or 2 generations removed from the wild. Really nice. You should go check that one out. Second place, Demetrio Barros, another Amphilophus labiatus. First place, Judith Weinberg, Mascaheros argenteus. Amazing specimen. So most of our judges have not seen what the other winners are, or, you know, they have no idea what the reserve best of show is, or, you know, what the best of is. So they're tuned in right now just trying to figure it out themselves. Because the judges did the process of doing the point system, then I gave them all the chance to rank everybody from first, second, and third place out of the 6 remaining entries for the cichlids. So they were able to rank the 6 fish, and then there are point values assigned to determine reserve best and best of. So Class 3, Lake Victoria cichlids, sponsored by Lucy's Tropicals, a local pet store here, longtime supporter, and judged by Greg Steves. Amazing. Third place, Class 3, Lou Carbone.
Oh, yeah.
Isochromous nucus squamulatus. And now I know Lou's usually working one of these events, and he has never really gotten the chance to show a fish. So here's another example of somebody being able to put something out there for us to look at. Second place, Sam Garcia, Paralibidicromus savagei. And your first place winner, Byron Van Gunten, Undamilius Frisky, Crimson Tide.
I was salivating over your fish. I knew it would win.
This fish is amazing.
Yeah. I didn't know it was yours, Byron.
We always, all the videos were anonymous. Nobody knew who owned what, who submitted what. But this is like a fish porn that I could watch for hours. That fish is amazing. Class 4, Lake Malawi cichlid, sponsored by Mike Helford. Thank you, Mike. Big supporter out in Chicago, the Chicago Cichlid Association, and judged by a good friend, Larry Johnson. The judges list is amazing. Third place, Class 4, Stephanie Isom, Labiatrophus trovase marmalade cat. Second place, Class 4, Stephanie Isom, Metroclimitera kika, Nguyo Island. First place, Class 4, Stephanie Isom, Cynotilapia afro white top. Another really nice specimen. And see, when you see how easy it was to make these videos, you're probably kicking yourself saying, I could have done that. Maybe next year you'll get that opportunity, if we get the opportunity to provide a hybridized event, live and virtual. How amazing would that be? Class 5, Lake Tanganyika cichlids, sponsored by Sand City Cichlids, judged by Ed Konings. Ed gave us a talk last night, and ironically, some of the species he talked about are in this class. Third place class, Class 5, John Crepper, Ophthalmotilapia nasuda, Mboko Island. Second place, Class 5, John Crepper, Ophthalmotilapia nasuda, Mabilibili. And your first place winner is John Crepper with his really nice Benthachromis horii, which Ad had a lot of pictures in his talk, actually, about the horii.
Oh.
Really nice fish. This is another aspect of the show that we don't get to see in a normal show. You get to see the fish interacting with its females in its normal environment in the aquarium. Class 6, we got all other New World cichlids, sponsored by the New England Cichlid Association. Much thanks to you guys and much love. Judged by our Lawrence Kent. Third place, Class 6, Lou Carbone, Coptodon Cate. Very, very nice fish. All of the judges were amazed at how nice these fish were. Second place, Class 6, Lou Carbone,
No.
Cyclopharynx species Lake Foy. Now, we had a lot of classes with 20 entries or more. But some of these classes were a little thinner, and if you'd have taken the opportunity, you might have gotten a good chance. But Lou's walking home with second place this time. First place, Tim de Robertis, Coptodon Snyderae, the dark form. Many judges' notes on this fish. Awesome looking fish. And I will be posting the judges' notes so everybody can go look at these fish, look at the judging note, start learning how do the judges look at everything. Class 7 New World Catfish, 6 inches and under. One of my favorite classes. One that I used to stack with entries. Sponsored by Megan McGuire. Thank you, Megan. And then we were judged it by Eric Bodrock and Regina Spotty. Technically, Eric was the supervisor in this class, and Regina was the side helper. But they both worked on this class together. Third place, Class 7, Scott Daw, Hyphen Sister Species L201. Second place, Class 7, Scott Daw, with his really nice Hyphen Sister Zebra. First place, Class 7, Scott Daw, Corydoras Adolphi. Really nice little Cory. And this is literally how easy it was to enter a fish. It's providing a top view. Goes to a side view. You had the ruler on the bottom of the tank. And then he's going to a front view. This is all one take. Literally, that's how easy entering the show was. Maybe next year, I hope you get the opportunity to do so. Class 8, New World Catfish over 6, my favorite class. The class my jellyfish smashed in. Sponsored by myself and my wife, Jeff and Kim Natterer. And this is also judged by Regina Spotty and Eric Bodrock. Huge thanks to All Oddball Aquatics and Eric and Regina. Second place, Class 8, Matt Hand, Pterygoplichthys gibbosep sailfin pleco. And obviously the pictures on the certificates that I'm showing, which will go to the recipients, are not the actual fish in the class. First place, Class 8, Tim D. Robertis, Trichilopterus fisheri, Fisher's woodcat. Very nice specimen. Very easy to tell that male with that crooked dorsal. Beautiful fish. And we'll move on to Class 9, Old World Catfish, sponsored by Karen Haas and judged by Stephen Grant. Thank you to both of you for such tremendous help and support. Second place, Class 9, Sam Garcia, Chrysichthys graueri. Very nice. There were some really, really nice fish in this. All the judges said that. First place, Class 9, Mark Soberman with his Synodontis acanthomias. I need this in my tank if I had big tanks.
Wow.
That thing is massive. And it is Amazing.
Yay, Mark.
Okay, we'll move on here to Class 10. The class this almost entire show was built around. Sponsored by the Greater Cleveland Film Commission and judged by William K. Baker Productions out in California. This class had nothing to do with the fish other than they had to be cichlids or catfish. This is entirely about the video itself, the story, the lighting, the layout, how well this was put together. And the Cleveland Film Commission has actually talked about next year, possibly, we make this a dedicated type of event and a 5-minute video. So start putting your videos together because it very well is going to happen. Class 10 video, third place, Scott McLaughlin, Parachromis Fry. Amazing video. All three of these placing videos were absolutely fantastic. Most of the judging note on the videos in this class talked about narration. This video probably could have won with a voiceover narration to tell the story of the mother and father guarding their young. But amazing video. Class 10 video, second place.
When someone asks me why,
Scott
I
McLaughlin,
just say it's
my passion.
This is hard.
Very nice job, Scott. These videos that people have submitted are amazing. Class 10 first place, Byron Von Guten, Cichlid Magic. Totally
boy.
awesome videos. Totally awesome videos. Just absolutely amazing. You know, we've had nothing but a ton of support through this event. And we're going to get to the class of 11, digital photography, sponsored by Big Trees, Ohio, which normally used to be sponsored by Bigfoot, Ohio. Mark DeWorth. Judged by Mo Devlin, Aqua Mojo. He released the results early to this. I hope you got a chance to tune in and see that live as he announced those. We'll go through it again. Jessica Bullock, third place, Hema Loracariidae. Second place, Jessica Bullock, Crassix. Very nice photos. And first place, digital photography, Karlaszewski, Terraphilum Scalari. The judges were both totally enthralled with this, and it was an amazing picture. Absolutely fantastic. So, as a little surprise, the Greater Cleveland Film Commission and William K. Baker Productions and Mo Devlin, who judged this division, said it was like comparing apples to oranges to judge the best photograph against the best video. So best of digital photography, Karlaszewski, Terraphilum Scalari. And Byron, if you could switch me to live.
Yep, I'll get there. There we go. Let me get you full screen here.
So, I don't know if you can all see this yet or not, but this is the Best of Digital Photography Award for the 2020 OCA Virtual Extravaganza. Congratulations, Karlaszewski, on your Terraphilum Scalari. Amazing photograph. And if we could go back to the screen. That takes us to the best video of show, sponsored by the Greater Cleveland Film Commission, who literally makes movies happen here in Cleveland. Those Avenger movies that you loved so much. That was because of the Greater Cleveland Film Commission. And once again, judged by William K. Baker and Mo Devlin. Best video show, Byron Von Gutten, Cichlid Magic.
If you guys know what I do for a living, the video is kind of interesting that I put that kind of music with it. So, yes, thank you so much.
Well,
you talk about your
being a minister and submitting a fish porn video was just ironically awesome to me. That was just fantastic.
So,
if we could switch to the live view again. We also have the award for Byron for Best Video of Show, which hopefully will become a staple of our show from now on, partnered with the Cleveland Film Commission. You can see these are pretty cool.
Three-dimensional.
These are absolutely fantastic. That brings us to the Best Catfish of Show, one of my favorites. I actually won Best Catfish of Show in the Extravaganza and Best Cichlid in the same year. So it's not like I'm just making stuff up here about how good these fish are. Tim DeRobertis, Tricholopterus fisheri, Fisher's Woodcat, Best Catfish of Show. Congratulations, Tim.
I think the same species won it last year, if I remember
Yes,
right.
actually it did. And that one belongs to, I believe, Phil Ayers or the Goomans. I know they're out there watching somewhere. See, if all these local show people had gotten in on this, their names might be up there too. So, Byron, if you could switch to the live view again.
Look at that.
That's awesome.
This is literally the best catfish of show award. I had a hand in making it, but Del Calhoun is amazing. He's a mastermind at carving these fish. This thing, I am so sad this is not staying in my house. So that brings us to the reserve best cichlid of show, sponsored by Mike Shadle, late in the game last night. Thank you so much, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
This was judged by our entire panel. Lee Newman, Juan Miguel Ortigas, Greg Steves, Larry Johnson, Ed Konings, Lawrence Kent. The process, they picked their top three. I had assigned point values to first through third place, and that is what determined the best cichlid of the show. Now, this is where the ruler came in. I had decided if you didn't put a ruler in, that was going to affect your point total throughout the entire show. By 2 points, literally, reserve best of show. Byron Van Guten, Fundamental Species Crimson Tide. Woo. That thing is awesome. More than one judge said that could have easily turned into best of show as well. So very cool. I can't say that I have a big award for you, Byron. I'm sorry it's virtual this year, but you will be getting a nice check through your PayPal. Best cichlid of show. Right. This brings us to the big one, sponsored by Karen Haas, judged by Lee Newman, Juan Miguel Ortigas, Greg Steves, Larry Johnson, Ed Konings, and Lawrence Kent. Every judge in the show was amazed at the quality of the entries that we've had. And their feedback and their patience with me was phenomenal. So thank you to all 11 of my judges for doing that. Best cichlid of show. Judith Weinberg, Mascahiros argentius.
Awesome fish.
3 of the 6 judges picked this one as the top fish in their ratings. Very amazing specimen. I really need to get back into some bigger tanks and get me some argentius. I really like that fish. Ron Giorgione used to show one years ago, and I just loved it. Amazing, amazing fish. So, Byron, if you could, go to the live view again. This is your Best Cichlid of Show award by Del Calhoun with some minor tweaking by myself. This is really freaking cool. You've got the plaque sponsored by Pleco Caves. Our great friend Brantley Berry doing a great job helping the hobby out. Love you guys. This has been an amazing ride. And I also have the Patrick Mahoney Award from the ACA for Judith Weinberg for Best Cichlid of Show. So it's amazing how little of the local scene, our normal show people, were too afraid to enter video. But you see how easy it was for some of these people to film their video and submit it to us. So third place, the lowest thing was $10. You paid $250 for an entry, and you're getting a return like that on your investment. When you have a nice fish, half you YouTubers are out there every day with your camera filming your fish and talking about them. We had a great show, 123 entries, 32 different contestants, entrants. Amazing success. I built the virtual fish group, the OCA virtual show, fish show on Facebook. September 2nd. I went back and looked at this today because it was really interesting. There were almost 800 members of that group now in like 2 months. We might have a movement here. We'll see where this takes us. But, one of the things the YouTubers told me, the big YouTubers, King and Queen Cichlids, Aquafunk, they are thrilled that the science portion of the hobby has gotten the opportunity to mix with the virtual this year and become one. And, with fish, we have a tank, or we get that cichlid sickness, and we have many tanks. But with all of you out there and the people, that's what makes our hobby. We have a hobby with the people. And so thank you for participating in this year's show. It was awesome from my standpoint of coordinating it behind the scenes. I've shown for years, but I never had to coordinate any of this part of it. Amazing. You guys were awesome. Our support network was fantastic. And I thank all of you for participating in the 2020 Virtual Extravaganza Fish Show. And you'll be watching your PayPals. Your accounts are going to be going up because we got the money.
Great job, Jeff.
Yes, thank you so much, Jeff.
Thanks for having me on, everybody. Thank you for participating and having me on. It's a great pleasure.
Lots of fun, Jeff.
All right, we're on to the memorial segment, Lou.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess I forgot to prepare for this, but I know what to do. The memorial, the memorial award is given to a person that gives us a whole lot of help in putting together the show for the year. It could be someone. Some years it's been someone that worked behind the desk at the a registration desk and was tireless. One time we gave it to the guy that was supplying all the water to the fish show, because we know how important that is, the water to the show and the showroom and the vendor's room. So it's very unpredictable how this is going to go. And one thing we generally don't do is give it to a board member, but sometimes we do. And this year we're giving it to the board member who we just couldn't have done this like this without him. I mean, without you, Byron. So the award goes to Byron von Gunten, whose face you can see right there.
Well,
congratulations.
I didn't know what the Memorial Fund was, so that's awesome. Thanks, guys.
I was worried that you were going to ask about voting on it, because usually we vote on it, and we did, but you just didn't know about it. So,
well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. It's been a blast. I mean, seriously, because of everything that we've gone through as a country and having to stay at home, I was inside and couldn't go anywhere, and reached out to you guys and thought, well, I'm having to learn to do new stuff for my work. Why can't we do that for what we do here? And it ended up working great, and it's taught me a ton. I've actually probably learned more from helping you guys out to help me out with what I do with being at a large church on how to even make connecting with people outside of being in person. So appreciate it. Thank you, guys. It's been a privilege.
Well, great working with you to make this happen. You did a phenomenal job, and we're blessed to have you.
Cool. Was there anything else, or are we going on to our rare fish raffles?
Woo-hoo!
We ready for rare fish raffles?
If Gary's ready, I'm ready.
All right, let me get Gary on here. We'll add him to the stream. There he is. He set up all the rare fish raffles on our online website and made that really nice and easy for everyone to put $10 down on a fish.
Yeah, I appreciate everyone's participation. And just to let you know, we've made over $2,600 for the Jim Smith Fund.
Wow.
Wow.
So thank you very much, everyone, for participating.
And donating. We have Wet Spot and Mike Drawdy and Dave
Imperial Trade.
And Mike's, right? I don't want to steal your thunder, but I probably already did.
That's all right. No, KJE Aquatics, Dave's Rare Aquarium Fish, Swiss Tropicals, Mike Cichlids, the Wet Spot Tropical Fish, and Imperial Tropicals. Thank you for your donations. It did it for us and went a long way to making this work.
All right.
So we're ready to spin the wheel.
Yes, we are. The first item up is the tower block. What's the total? I got multiple windows here. I got to pull up to see what it is. It is the tower block filter. And who's that from, Gary?
The tower block filter is from Swiss Tropicals.
Okay. So I'm going to go full screen with this. Whoops. I hit the wrong button on my side. Let's see here. There we go. And I've got everything entered. And I'm going to hit spin the wheel now. Here we go.
Cincy Mob, huh?
Yep.
All right, here we go. And then now I got to go over here, click new names, boom. So some of these fish, yeah, only 4 people. So you got a good chance. This is the, I hope I can't say this name right, Taniachromis holotinai. Did I say that right?
The Holotania, Holotania, yes.
Okay.
And those fish were donated by Dave's Rare Aquarium Fish.
Okay, so only 4 people. Some good odds here. Well, actually, Gary, you're on there 3 times.
Well, I did that the first day. I thought that would be very popular.
So, well, you got some good odds here. If you don't win this one, I'm sorry. Here we go. All right. Congrats, Gary.
No, I can't see the screen because I'm on another screen. Well, thank you.
Okay. The next one here is, looking it up here. It is the 75-gallon Matten filter.
By Swiss Tropicals.
Okay, we got all their names entered. We're going to spin the wheel. So Christina Rogalski. So she is the winner of the Matten filter. And I assume you guys are writing down the names?
I'm doing it.
Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I assumed that was happening, but I didn't know for sure. Next up is going to be the Alnacara Melandia and Hap.
And those were donated, I believe, by Mike's Cichlids. Let me just make sure. Yes, donated by Jen and Mike.
And this is another one in which you've got really good odds, only 3 entries. So here we go. Why didn't you go? There. I don't know what happened there. I apologize.
Just have to do it again.
Yep, I'm going to hit remove on that blank space. And hopefully that doesn't do that again. Here we go. All right. Okay, the next item we have is, and I'm going to probably need help saying this one, the Gymnophagus.
Geophagus.
Yeah, Geophagus rhabdotus.
Rhabdotus.
Okay.
And those were donated by Imperial Tropicals.
Okay. Make sure there isn't a blank space. Nope, we're good.
Yeah, there is.
There is. It must be at the very bottom. There we go. That removed it. All right, here we go. All right, Frank Myritsky.
Pittsburgh.
Okay, here we go. Our next one up is the, what do we have here? They are the Kalesia. Did I get that right?
Kalisa.
Yeah, Kalisa.
Nantiopius Kalisa, Tanganyikan.
All right.
And those were donated by the Wet Spot Tropical Fish.
All right, nice fish. All right, here we go. Another lower number one. Nice job. Okay, and I'm going to get the next one up here. It is the Chindago Solosii and Hap a neocolor. Is that right?
The gold Kawanga?
Well,
Pseudotropheus gold Kawanga. Oh, yeah, you don't have the whole name. Yes, that's the Chindago Solosii?
Yes.
Okay, those were donated by Mike Sicklets.
Okay. And it's real life if you hear my kids in the background. Okay, here we go. We're going to spin the wheel.
Almost.
James Felix. Nice job. Okay, let's go on to the next one. And it would be the Pseudocrenebulus Canelabras. Canelabras. Okay.
The lake.
I'm glad you guys are here to help me out. All right, here
and
we
those,
go.
let's see, those were donated by KJE Aquatics.
Okay, here we go.
Why?
All right, nice. Way to go, Jeff. And these are the Masakaharos Regani.
The Mascaheros.
Mascaheros, yeah.
Mascaheros, okay.
Yes. Those were donated by Imperial Tropicals. I'm sorry. It's from the Wet Spot Tropical Fish.
Right.
All right, here we go. Let's see who our lucky winner is. All right, the next one up is the Chandelier Chromis Bouchardi. And let me see, make sure I don't miss any. All right.
Those were donated by Dave's Rare Aquarium Fish.
All right, doesn't look like there's any blank spots. All right, here we go.
Way to go, Skip.
Yeah, congrats, Leo. All right, and we're on to getting back up here. Ooh, this is the big one. This is the one that I wanted, the Hemiachromis Isul. And this definitely had by far and away the most entries.
Yes. So let me.
I think that was Dave's Rare Fish.
That was Dave's Rare Fish. Yeah.
I've saw them over at NECA quite a bit, and I've been wanting some of these. Let's make sure there's no blank spots. Okay. All right, here goes the big spin, the one that looks like everyone wanted. Let's see what happens. All right, congrats, Kenneth. All right, let's get the next one up here. It is for the, it's TATIA, the what?
Tadia mosaica.
Okay.
The catfish. And that was donated by the Wet Spot Tropical Fish.
And no blanks on there. Here we go.
You dog you.
That's a different Jeff. That has 3 F's in it. I'm not sure if that's the same Jeff. Okay, let's go on here. And we are at, I'm looking at my list here. The Episto Panduro.
Panduro, yep.
Yep, and that was donated by the Wet Spot Tropical Fish.
There is a blank on this one. Okay, here we go. Congrats, Craig. All right, now we're on to the Blue Phantom Pleco.
Yes, that was another popular one. That
Yes, it
was donated by the Wet Spot Tropical Fish.
All right, congrats, Neil.
What did Neil win?
Blue Phantom Pleco.
Okay, thank you.
Maybe we are on that one.
And then this next one is the Alnacara Eureka Reds.
Oh, that was Imperial Tropical donated that fish.
All right. Well, wow, this is for $10, they're going to get a nice group of fish. All right. Congrats, Douglas. And we are on to the Geophagus. There's a wild caught, I think. Where's the name of that again? Rio Caqueta? Is that right?
Yeah, Cicada.
Okay, cool.
And that's donated by Imperial Tropicals.
All right, here we go.
Here we go, Frank.
And we're on to our last item here. It is for a 55/75 corner tank filter. If I got that right.
Donated by Swiss Tropicals.
All right, here we go. Last one. All right, congrats again, Douglas. Well, that was fun. I hope you guys enjoyed winning your raffles. A lot of good stuff there. I'm going to remove this and get this on here. And yeah, that was a lot of fun. You said, how much money did you say that brought in again?
Over $2,600.
Wow.
So
now, there was
you.
one fish that didn't get bid on, right?
Correct.
That was actually one I was about ready to put one on, and I just never did get around to it. And now I'm regretting it. But that's really cool, though, that even though only one fish didn't do that, that's amazing that $2,600 got brought in from all the raffle ticket entries. So, yeah, that is good stuff.
Thank you to everyone that donated and everyone that participated.
Great job, Gary.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. Thank you so much. So we're on to now the donor, the big donor prize. And I'm looking for Carl on here. Where is Carl? Anybody want to text Carl? Tell him to jump on here. He's going to be, we're not doing the spin the wheel for the big donor prize. We're doing an actual legit hand tumbling raffle where they pull the name out of the hat and they were going to pull it out. So we're waiting on Carl to jump on here. I tested with him earlier today. Should be good.
Hey, we need you online, buddy.
He's getting several texts right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, until then.
Well, I want to just basically say thanks to everybody who joined and sponsored and took part in the show, the Rare Fish raffles, gave talks, ran the event. Just an amazing job. It was a lot of fun. Hope you all had fun.
I did.
So everyone on Facebook saying he's online, but he needs to jump over to our live stream studio. So
I'll give him a call.
Okay. So
on speaker, of course.
Oh, nice.
You're on. You're not in the StreamYard stream, though.
Yeah, you're not in the studio.
I'll start it over.
Okay, we don't see you.
All right.
Let me know if you need me to send you the link again.
I got the link.
All
Actually,
right. Famous online here.
Actually, this is all staged just to build up
Right.
The anticipation, yes.
anticipation, yeah, suspense.
Well, I may as well go get one more snort for the road here.
Oh, yes. So, hey, everybody on Facebook, let's get a little feedback here. What was your favorite part of what we did this weekend? Like, of all the things that we did, segments, we'd love to hear what you guys liked the most that we put on. And just give us some feedback on, maybe some ideas if we do some of these type of things monthly or something where not a whole weekend deal, but, when we do our live interviews, all that stuff, kind of help us make this thing better. So fill the comments up. I'll read them off. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say, what you would like us to do so that we can make this even better and help it keep everybody connected. Because isn't there another event that comes up in February usually?
Yeah, that's our winter auction that will not be live based on our predictions. But you never know the delivery method now.
Right.
Yeah, everyone's kind of chiming in and saying they love the speakers.
Hey, we do plan to send out some feedback mechanism via email so you can kind of weigh in on various aspects of the show so we can improve future events. Clearly, we do monthly things like this with speakers you might want to hop in on, especially all you $5 new members.
Yeah, and if you're wondering about the T-shirts, they should be going. Actually, some of them are being mailed out. I've already talked to them. COVID hit our warehouse factory that was making them, and they had to shut down for a week. And so they were supposed to go out last Friday, but that didn't happen. So Jeff said he wanted to jump in, and so we're throwing him on here. Still waiting for Carl.
I'll kill some time.
Hey, hang on one sec, Jeff. On that survey, if you see something in your mailbox called Survey Monkey, don't delete it. That'll be us asking you for feedback, okay? Go ahead, Jeff.
So when I came on, I was tossing the money. And even though it's OCA funny money with a nice tetracanthus on it, actually, every entrant that sent me video entries is going to get a memorial copy of one of these bills to do whatever they want with it. They want to burn their money, they can do that. But I thought it would be kind of cool to print up some, OCA funny money for the Extravaganza show. You can put it in your fish room on the wall, like the first dollar you won or something showing if that's the case. Just trying to make something fun out of it. Some little memento. If the board's really nice to me, they might get one too. But we'll see.
I don't know if that'd be worth it.
Hey, I know you all got to fight fire with fire, and I'm burning, man. So I totally get it. It's awesome. You guys were a great team to work with this year. It was awesome.
Scott McLaughlin.
It reminded me of when we started the event, honestly. Yeah. When we had no idea what we were doing, where we were going. We only knew the direction we wanted to go, and we persevered and did it. And, it's awesome. And the OCA at this point, with this event, it really makes me proud of the club and of all the board members and everyone in the club. It was fantastic.
I need to jump in here. Carl followed the link from this morning's practice session.
He's in.
Oh, good. Okay.
I got him.
Hey, there we go.
All right.
Oh, go ahead.
I was using the same link.
Now go to Carl. Never mind.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're doing the raffle right now, huh?
Oh yeah, whenever you're ready.
Okay,
All right.
here we go. We're going to spin the drum. Wee.
There's a lot of tickets in there.
Oh,
Yep.
635.
Just over 600 tickets. So
Yeah,
Wow.
everyone, every registration gives you 2, and the $5 donations gave you 3 more. So some of you have a bunch
Thanks
of them
to
in there.
everyone for supporting the Jim Smith Fund. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yep, good generosity.
Sorry for taking so long to get on.
It's okay, Carl.
No
I think it's
worries.
okay to unlock it now.
here we go.
All right.
See, you hired a top-notch hand model.
And it is Mike Shadle.
Yes.
Yeah,
Mike Shadle.
Oh, nice.
Congratulations to Mike Shadle. I will be
Congratulations, Mike.
Congrats.
he gets his $100 back.
Yeah, thank you for the support, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool.
Thank you, Mike.
And again, thank you everyone for donating. Thank you for all of your time. And thank you for giving me writer's cramp doing all of those tickets.
Wow. Guys, thanks.
Yeah,
Thank
Sherry
Thank
kept
you.
Sherry kept all the records. She did was a very, very important part of this
Yes.
operation.
Thank you
Thank
so
you, Sherry,
much.
for all your
Brother.
help.
And let me tell you, I hear about it every night.
Did she say any bad words with my name?
Never.
Oh, she's a longshoreman.
Awesome. Mike Shadle is posting donated back to the Jim Smith Fund.
Whoa.
Nice.
Thank you.
Wow. Let's
Thank
have a
you,
round of
Mike.
applause for Mike. Gee whiz.
Absolutely amazing.
You know what?
Fantastic.
He told me to do that if he won, but I was going to let him take a second chance and maybe change his mind.
Yeah,
so.
you can change his mind.
Right.
Okay.
Hey, again, I just wanted to say thanks to the awesome board of the OCA for all pitching in and making things happen. Clearly, Byron got an award for doing a great job and being the key piece that we needed to make this all happen. But my committee of JJ Cabin, Lou Carbone, the most interesting man in the world, Gary Mendez, Jeff Tough Guy Natterer, Byron, Sherry Olszewski, Carl Olszewski, John B. Dietrich for putting together a kick-butt show program. I mean, the list is endless. So thanks, everybody, and all our supporters, man. Just thank you. It was an awesome time, and it's fun putting it together, basically building the highway while people are driving on it. So thanks so much. And bad analogy, but I've had too much.
Yeah, Don opened the hospitality suite early, and I'll close it down with a toast to my Canadian friends.
Oh, yeah.
I've been the Canadian Club today with 7-Up. So thanks for joining us, everyone, and thank you for supporting the hobby. Toast to everybody.
All right. Well,
Cheers.
this isn't goodbye. This is only a farewell for a little bit. And if you tune into our monthly meetings, you'll get more of what you just saw here when we do interviews with experts. And we look forward to seeing everybody in person next year. Thanks again. This is awesome.
Yes.